Hey everyone. So, this is another installment from my series of tools that I use personally on a daily basis to improve my overall happiness and well being. And I think that it's something, I mean, all these things, just like the concept of improving these things, is more relevant now than ever because lockdown 2 is pretty horrible in comparison to lockdown number 1, because at least in the Czech Republic, we got a taste of freedom and then it got scary again and dangerous. So I definitely think it's always important, just always in your life, to do things that make you happy and that sort of increase those levels of happiness on a daily basis. And I also think that we're a lot in charge of that. I think there's, of course, a lot of things we can't change, but this is one thing, at least, that helps me on an almost daily basis, or really, yeah, basically every single day, helps me to just get in a better mood, get in a better mindset. And that would be exercise. So any of you that know me in person or virtually on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, know that I love running. I love it. And I got into running initially back when I lived in San Diego. Like after college, I was like, okay, I need to like get back in shape. This is crazy. I was like not happy with where I was with my physical health, and tried a few things, was like kind of going to the gym. Nothing was really like that interesting for me until I started running. And then I was like, this is fun. Like, this is really fun. And in San Diego, especially, there are a lot of trails that you can run, and trail running is just for me like the ultimate happiness. Like, it's so much fun. What I want to say with that is that just because running is something for me that makes me happy, and I'm going to go into a little bit more of why, but I want to preface that with saying that when I talk about exercise as a tool for well-being and happiness, I want to say that it should be something that is available for you. So some people, either it's very difficult or impossible due to injury, illness, whatever, to go running, and that's fine. It's not necessarily the thing that you do that creates these feelings of happiness, helps you change your perspective, but it should be something that makes you happy as well, like just the thought of it, of doing it, whatever. And that can take some time. If you've, not exercised for a while and you're getting back into it, your body initially is like, oh, this hurts, it's uncomfortable, it's whatever. You might not enjoy it right away. So definitely keep with it. Try it for at least like a few weeks, a month, and then see how you feel, because it typically takes about a month to build a habit anyways. And especially if you've gone a long period of time without doing something, then you try to do it again, then your body's going to be like, oh, I don't want to. And your mind, like just everything might like sort of resist it a little bit at the beginning, which is normal. And I just wanted to emphasize that, like, just like to keep with it, but then definitely find something that you enjoy. And it's okay to like try a few different things. I know that might be difficult right now, based on whatever your situation is, being at home with coronavirus, having things closed, whatever. But try and find something at least that you can do, even if it's going for a walk 10 minutes a day, like anything that would make you happy, especially if you have, like a park nearby your house or something like with nature involved as well. It's awesome. But if it's yoga, weightlifting, like whatever, if you have swimming available to you, I mean, it's winter, so maybe not, but like anything that you can do. And for a variety of reasons, exercise has been proven and shown to, like on a chemical level inside your body, after you exercise and during exercise, your body actually releases chemicals like serotonin, aka the happiness chemical, which literally make you happy. It's doing it itself. Like, you don't even have to really like try that hard. You don't have to be like, okay, this is gonna make me happy, and then like see if it does. Like, your body is programmed to do this already. It is wired to make you happy based on movement, which is cool, right? Like, this is just like a double benefit. Like, you don't really have to try that hard with exercise. But I want to share, like, especially if maybe haven't exercised in a while, or you feel like exercise is sort of like not for you, like maybe you had like PE classes in school and you really enjoyed it, or it wasn't like fun for you, whatever it was, or you just haven't done it in a while. It's not a habit and it just seems like sort of overwhelming. Because I was in sort of a similar position for a variety of reasons. So actually at the beginning of lockdown, number 1, so in March for us in the Czech Republic, I hadn't really been doing that much consistent exercise before that. Like, I had been, like I said, in San Diego before I moved to Prague, was definitely exercising a lot, and then had a couple of seizures, got really freaked out about exercise, and did not do any for a long time. I was like, nope, not doing it. And then like sort of started to get back into it, like beginning of last school year, like September-ish, October. And then it was just like, just like, I don't know, like couldn't find anything that stuck again. Like previous problem happened again. And I was like, you know what? Like, what if, because I know with myself, I do really well when I have a goal and a structure for anything, but definitely for exercise as well, because I think it's really easy when you're like, oh, I'll just like go exercise, you know, whatever. And then it's really easy to be like, oh, well, like, what should I do even? And blah, 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 you know, like all of these, it creates, like, for me at least, too much room for excuses to come up, reasons why it shouldn't work or can't work, or like, oh, well, now my headphones don't work, I guess I can't, you know, like exercise. Or it's just like, it's too many different things that could happen. Whereas if I have like something that I'm working towards and some kind of daily structure, like, okay, I need to do this day and this day, it's much more likely that I'm going to follow that. So in the beginning of the year, last year, school year, like September or something like that, I signed up for a half marathon. And I was like, whew, okay, that's a big goal. And I'm going to need to train for it because I haven't been running. So I like physically, like I have to, like, I can't have excuses because I'm going to die otherwise. Because my first official half marathon was a near disaster. Like, like looking back on it, I'm like, how did I even survive? Like, it was so hard. So this time around, I started running a lot and consistently, and literally just like Googled like half marathon training plan, had it for every week, like what I need to run every day, how many miles. And especially during the first lockdown, because it was very, I mean, this one's stressful as well, but it was stressful in a different way, because there was a period of time for a while there that we kind of all thought the world was going to end. We're like, what if this is just, we just have this forever and everyone dies and then there's no more people, you know? It's like very, very scary and stressful. We had no idea what was going on from one day to the next. And there was a lot of like uncertainty happening because everything was so new. And especially with like all the restrictions, and I didn't feel safe going places. Like, yeah, it was the law that we couldn't leave, but I like didn't even want to. I was like, I'm good, I'll stay at home. And luckily, I also like to wake up early. So I started waking up at 5. I would go for runs every day. I mean, I was already waking up at 5, but I started running in those time periods in the morning. And I was like, this is perfect. Nobody is really awake. And because it was spring and then went to summer, the sun just rose every day during my run. So, you know, I didn't have to worry about being like super dark or cold or whatever. And the lessons that I have learned throughout that time period from March till now are things that I can take into my everyday life. So for example, every time I run, and this is sort of like a cumulative thing, but I realized this quite recently actually, like put it into words and sort of like, I kind of noticed it, but you know, it's a bit different when you like sort of realize something. And then when you really like put a framework to it and you're like, oh, wow, this is happening because of this, or, you know, something along those lines. So I realized recently that there's almost always, I would say like 9 out of 10 runs, I have at least some small time period during the run where something sort of happens. And this is normal for running, like your knees hurt, or you feel like you have a cramp in one of your muscles, like calf muscles for me usually, or my feet, or like whatever it is, or you're kind of tired, you're like, oh God, and I have like 3 more miles to go, this sucks. You know, there's usually something. And yet, if I power through that, and the caveat there is a difference between normal muscle or like joint, whatever energy level fluctuations when you're running, and like being actually injured, or, you know, like in a lot of pain, having an injury, having anything hurt. Like, be careful with that. And I am. And, you know, I'm talking about like normal things, just like, oh, I've been running for a few miles, now I'm tired. Like, just totally normal stuff. I'm definitely not saying if you roll your ankle, you should push through that pain, or if you like snap a tendon, no, stop running, call an ambulance, call a friend. Like, don't push through that. That's not something to like keep going through. It's going to be really bad. But with these normal sort of things, if I push through them, the time period after that, like from basically whenever that ends, that like soreness or sort of like fatigue until the end of my run, the feeling I have afterwards is amazing. It's like, it's not just like, oh, okay, I went out for a run, it was really awesome, I enjoyed it. Like just a good, you know, nothing happens. Those are great runs too, and I enjoy them. I'm like, wow, that was easy, cool. But it's like more satisfying to me if I have some like minor sort of challenges, or like, oh God, I have to run up this hill, and like I am not good at running up hills, like straight up not. But after I do it, then I'm like, wow, like I pushed myself, I challenged myself, and then I did it, and that was really cool. And I can take that and apply it to regular life. Like I can take that mindset of like, okay, there are things that are challenging, especially right now. There's a lot of challenging shit happening, like for everyone in different ways. And yet, I don't want this to come off as like condescending or anything in any way, because I absolutely think everyone's experience right now is valid. And most people probably have harder challenges to deal with right now than I do. Like, I feel like I have a lot of challenges and stress and anxiety, but I also, don't have kids, and I'm not, at least not every day, being in physical workplaces and stuff. Like I am a couple days a week, and that's stressful enough, but like it's not the same as like dealing with the general public, dealing with adults. I'm working, I'm just at preschool, so it's a little bit different. And so I don't want to say that like all of your problems are easier than you think you are, and you think that they are, and you can just like easily overcome them. I don't want to discount anyone's experience, but it makes it, for me personally, with my things, makes it easier to get into the mindset where I feel like I can tackle them, because I've had such horrific feelings of overwhelm and burnout during this quarantine versus last quarantine. And I think a lot of people have for different reasons. It's just been a long time. Like it's a long time to be away from your friends and family and loved ones and not know when you'll see them again for some cases, like my family lives on a different continent than I do. I don't know when the next time is I'll see them. That's really hard to deal with. But when I can take these sort of mindsets that I'm learning through exercise and apply them to my other, daily life problems or daily life things, I'm like, you know what? If I push through this, things are only going to get better. Like 2020 has been a trash year in a lot of ways. It's also been a lot of good things have happened for me personally, which is great. Getting back in shape, like developing a lot of these tools, or remembering tools that I used to use and now have started to use again. And so it can be really, really powerful and impactful. And again, that can be achieved through anything. Sort of think about if you're evaluating like what exercise should I do, of course, like what's available to you in this moment based on where you live, your restrictions, what physical materials you have, what you like to do as well, all these kinds of things. And then sort of like what you want out of it, I guess. Like for me, I like running, and I've always liked running, and I wanted to get back into running and then run further and further. I want to run ultra marathons someday. And so like for me, this is like sort of a sequential thing. But I also just really have enjoyed like running around Prague when there's no tourists, or in the morning and watching the city wake up. Like I love being like in the outdoors, and also like discovering new things about the city. And that's why I love traveling, but traveling isn't a thing right now. So I can travel around my own city and appreciate it a lot more. And that's really valuable and impactful for me. Maybe for you, it's, I want to get more flexible. So you start doing yoga and you do it every day, and you get a lot of joy out of that. Whatever it is, make sure, especially right now, given all the stressors that we have in our lives, that you're doing something that's good for you, not just like, oh, I saw so-and-so doing swimming, so I'm going to do swimming. You can try it, of course, but make sure that you're choosing something that's going to fill you up, because it's different for every person. But exercise is so beneficial, and it just helps also wake you up. But that's another thing. Like, try different things. Try to do, if you have time in the morning, try to do it in the morning. If you're not really a morning person, you can work out at night or in the evening. But like I said, it doesn't even have to be something crazy or big. And even better to start small, because then you can get it into a habit, and then you can always work up from there. There's no need to be like, all right, I haven't done anything in 5 years, I'm gonna run a marathon or lift 300 pounds on a bench press. Like, no need for that. I think we're all just doing our best in general. So no need to like push yourself to extremes. If that's a goal that you want to have, then cool. Like make that a goal. Take stock of where you're at right now, and then see how you can plan towards that. But that's one of the other biggest things that I've gotten out of exercise, is that it builds on itself in a way that it helps me feel like I'm capable of more and more things. So for example, with this marathon training, yesterday I ran the longest distance I've ever run in my life, which was 15 and a half miles. For me, that seemed crazy when I was like writing it out. I was like, no, okay, yeah. I mean, I know the distance of a marathon and I know like how far I'll have to run. But when I was writing it down, I was like, yeah, that's like future Megan's problem. I'm assuming by the time that comes up in my schedule, I'll be able to run it. I don't know how. But then I still get like this anxiety a little bit before these long runs that are really new to me. And it's going to be, every weekend until, except for I think I've got a couple half marathons, but until I run a full marathon, there's going to be at least a few more weeks where I'm going to run a new longest distance I've never done before. But because I've been training and doing it consistently, then I can look back on that and be like, okay, every time I had this new thing that I haven't done that seemed big and challenging, I found a way to do it and I learned a lot. And then the next time will be easier. And that's yet another lesson that I can take now into my own life of saying, okay, this is a crazy situation and I feel like I'm just drowning in it and like trying to figure it out. But what have I learned from previous weeks? What's worked well? What hasn't worked well with online teaching? Like, how can I make it better for my students? What are they feeling right now? Given that we're in whatever week of restrictions and they can't see their friends and they can't go to school, or maybe now some of them are starting to go to school again, it's helping me develop a mindset where I break down problems more. And then also, because I'm typically quite bad at this, look back on previous successes and wins that I've had and use that as fuel for the future, but also just to celebrate them more, because I am like, it's horrible. I can only laugh because I cope with things through humor. And also it's just so ridiculous. Like, I'm trying to get out of this. So this is like one of my personal like mental health projects that I'll share, is that like, I am the kind of person who I could run like, let's say yesterday, 15 and a half miles. And that's like astonishing for me. I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that my body was capable of that. That's incredible. And then within like an hour, I'd be like, all right, well, whatever. Like, just totally move on from it. And I feel like a lot of us do that. And it's wild. Like, we give ourselves no credit for things sometimes, or like minimal credit for like an hour or 10 minutes sometimes, depending on what it is. Like, oh, wow, cool. Yeah, I did this really amazing thing. On to the next thing. And for me, that's part of like this perfectionism thing that I'm trying to get over, of like, nothing's ever good enough. But yeah, like if you have these things that you're doing in your life, especially if it's something for joy and it's already, consistently bring your body joy through increased serotonin, through an activity you just like doing, and then being able to use these things of like, wow, you know what? I had a really hard week, but I practiced yoga 5 times, or I went outside for a walk every day this week. Like, that's pretty cool. Or I, did this 3 times, whatever it is. Then it also can increase your, trust in yourself, your confidence, your self-esteem, like your ability to solve problems. Like, all these things are added bonuses just for doing something you love, or just are starting to like and get really into, whatever it is, and then builds and builds and builds on itself. And I think we all, like I said, really, really need and deserve right now anything and everything that can just make us happier, just doing things for joy, because we're doing a lot and we can do hard things. I do believe in us, and I do believe in each of us that we can do them. But it gets draining, gets exhausting when you're only doing hard things. So this is why I'm on this insane major campaign for like, do all the self-care you can. And hopefully with my sharing my own experience as well, it'll make it more possible or seem more doable for you, whoever is watching this. Because I really do think that anyone is capable of anything, and we got to start small sometimes, or sometimes we can start medium, or sometimes we can just go right for it. But eventually with consistency, we can do anything. Thank you guys so much for watching. Love you so much. Take care of yourselves.